All right, this video is for Rachel. It was great to hear your playing of the Beethoven, and I was thinking about it overnight, and this morning I've come up with a few suggestions for you, some unsolicited advice, because that's what I do. And this is the Beethoven Sonatine in F. And actually, before we get to the music, I was looking this up, and there's a little bit of controversy around it. Modern musicologists really don't think Beethoven wrote this, or they think at least it's doubtful. It's always been attributed to Beethoven because it was published under his name in 1807, and he never denied having written it. And also, when he passed away in 1827, they found the music for this in his possession. So there was some belief that this was his composition, and for 200 years, that's what has stood. But musicologists, when they actually take a look at the music, it's a little light for Beethoven. So that raises a flag there. And second of all, there was no autograph manuscript or any sketches for this piece among Beethoven's possessions. And he always had that for his other pieces. So that's why they're really not sure. They think what's more plausible is this was written by one of his students as an exercise, and that's why he had it in his possession. Who knows? Anyway, we're going to call it the Beethoven Sonatine in F for the moment. And I've got a half dozen things I would suggest for you that you might want to try and work into your playing. We had talked about the opening measure. It's marked forte, but it's a very thin texture, so it's a hard thing to really give it that forte feel. I had suggested pedaling. Sounds a little messy for what otherwise is going to be a pretty clean classical texture. So what I might suggest is finger pedaling the F in those 16th notes. So you actually hold the F down. Don't release it. And when you think about the gest of the left hand in these first four bars, bum, 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 bum. That is, even though if you're not playing it forte, it has a forceful forte feel to it. So, whoop. And so on. But you get the sense that this is, I think, a way for you to have a bit more of that forte feel at the beginning, even though the composer doesn't give you a lot to work with. So that's the first thing. Second thing, measure 17. There's another great left-hand moment here. And I can't remember if you had played this with some prominence, but I would make sure that left hand gets to sing out there because it really reinforces this perfect authentic cadence in C. I would even articulate it that way, but that's my taste. So think about that one. Make sure that moment doesn't go past. Next thing, we're going to skip ahead now to measures 39 to 41. And it's where we have this little ascending pattern. It's a B diminished triad. It seems like a dead moment for me, and I feel like we need to do something with it. Now, sometimes when a composer has something like this that is relatively, uninteresting, uninspired, it's because they're setting you up for something that's going to really come awesome later. These notes are actually the notes of a G7 chord. It's just missing the G. And so this sounds so much more satisfying when we finally get that G. Maybe that's why I did it. But for me, here I would tend to pedal it. Just to give it a bit more and allow me to do that crescendo more effectively. And I would change the pedal. I don't want to let it ring the whole way too. That's all the way through. It's going to be too much, but I would change it on every beat. Up, up, change, change, change. And away we go. So that's a suggestion. Give that one a shot if you feel the same way about this passage. Measure 50. Here, when I heard you play it, I think you kind of just really kept in strict tempo all the way through. And I think this is a moment where we want to just pull back on the tempo a little bit and take a breath before we move on with the F major passage. This is where the composer, if it is Beethoven, is coming to the end of the development section and is signaling through a bunch of C's. You're hearing all these C's coming in. He's telling you this section is ending and we're about to return with the main thematic material in the recapitulation. So let him get through all of this. So you see that? So strict time. And just a little breath. Not too much, not so it's obnoxious, but just a little bit of time like that I think will allow you to set up that return to F so much more beautifully and wind up the previous section. Okay, so one more time just for demonstration. Okay, give that a shot. Next thing, we get into the coda, and he brings back this little theme. And in my score, I don't know about yours, but it's marked, the three notes are marked with a slur. And then the left hand answers. Is how I would play it. It's marked dolce, and for me, I think this kind of gives it a nice elegance. Again, you may disagree, your teacher may disagree, but I would play it as and so on. So give some thought to that. And then last but not least, we've got these two last notes. Here I would pedal. I wouldn't make them too short. Even though they're marked with staccato, they are quarter notes. And I would depress the pedal at the same time. Pedal, pedal. It'll give you a fuller sound and a really rousing end to the piece. So I hope these tips help, and good luck with your practice of it.